All right, last one, God willing. Cold opening, you know what it's like. So, I've been having technical difficulties, as I've been known to do recently. It's my first time, so you know what? It's to be expected, right? Regardless, we're gonna power through and see what happens. See what I can't get up to, right? So we are gonna do this cork. We're gonna do it right the first time, and hopefully not have to do another one. I had to deal with so much a second ago, having to find out which clips were what, because today has been so basically we've learned a couple of lessons. We've learned, one, to have my phone plugged in, because I'm using my phone, spoiler. So to leave my phone plugged in to a charger. We've also learned to delete old videos to make space for new ones. That doesn't look the best at the moment, but it's not meant to. So obviously doesn't fit on, to be expected. Just make sure that it is nice, tight, snug. If you let it dry, if you let the cork or the contact cement dry long enough, you shouldn't have any problems. Now here's something worth noting. So these are all the same grit, right? You can tell that they're different because they've been used differently. So this one will take off less cork. This one will take off more. So depending on which one you use, you could be in for a world of trouble. Say I wanted to take off a little bit more, but this one's not doing the right job. Let's swap to this. I could just get rid of all of it, which I will do because I want to get that bevel. I don't know if that was cut off or not, but basically the bevel will allow the joints to fit together a bit more perfectly, allow it to glide onto there. So this is an old-fashioned way. A lot more people are just doing flat. So the way the tenon cork comes, they just keep it flat, sand it all the way uniformly flat. I just prefer the bevel because that's what I was taught. Obviously, like I said, it does get on the wood like this. You can tape it off, you can glue it off, make it so that the wood won't get harmed, but at the end of the day, the cork gets on, and that's what matters for the most part. Because realistically, your clarinet should be in one piece. It should be together. Not many people are gonna be like, ew, what's that yucky down there? It's gonna be inside your clarinet. It's gonna be one piece. The one piece? And so that fits a little better, but you can see there's still a little bit of force. So let's say I had paraffin wax. Paraffin wax is gonna thicken all of this up. It's gonna add a layer in between the cork and the bore. And so you want it a little tight. You want it a little tight, but not too tight, because the cork will swell. It will swell when it gets humid, or it'll shrink when it gets cold. And so you want to account for both of those. For the most part, I go off of feel. I feel like that's right. I feel like this is enough. Whether it is or isn't, well, it's up to God. But what I do know is that as long as you have your bevel on, everything's nice and sanded in the middle, you shouldn't have too many problems. What I have clumping up over here is some glue. You can see that there's glue there, and more often than not, that'll just get taken off whenever you do your sealing, when you seal your cork. And like I said, you can seal it with spit, with cork grease, with paraffin wax. And you can get paraffin wax at Hobby Lobby. Unfortunately, I didn't find any when I went. And I didn't look hard enough is what it is, because you can get it near the unscent or the candle making stuff, not the scented candles. There's like a different section. I don't know. I've never been like really into a Hobby Lobby. I would always go with my mom or something, but it is what it is. That looks fine to me. We'll see what happens. Sometimes I cross my toes hoping that it goes on. So it's a little bit tighter than I'd like, and you don't want it too tight, like I said, otherwise it'll push up the cork. Now, I'm willing to force this. I can force this, and so there's just the tiniest bit of resistance. And I've done enough clarinet tenons to know that it'll push me past the point of being in one piece. So I'm gonna go back to sanding a little. And here's the thing, you know, they say slow and steady wins the race, or so on and so forth. But realistically, as long as you're not a commission tech, you don't have to worry about it. Like, good things take time, you know. They say Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was taken down in one, right? So you just have to be fine. Be fine with taking it slow. Be fine with having to go back. You know, a lot of people get it in their head that it has to be, you know, done instantly. And in some cases it does. But when you're first starting out, I would say it doesn't really matter that much. And, well, goodbye. When you first... Oh, sorry. I got sidetracked. That really threw me for a spin. So with tenon corks, I like to do quadrants. You got this face. You got 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And so you have 4 faces. So 4 things to sand, right? And that's all fine and dandy, hunky-dory. Either way, it's not my best work. I've definitely done better. I've had better. But you can see we're about halfway, well, we're about halfway in. So I'm gonna go for it. And if it tears, I'm gonna clip the video and you'll never see me ever again. No. Let's see if God is with me. Maybe. maybe he's with me. Let's see. So it's in one piece, and we like that. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna apply some grease. And honestly, do not ever dry fit things. What I did right there, that was risky. You always wanna have things greased up, because, why wouldn't you? Sometimes, this is a little caveat, and this isn't this isn't my fault, but sometimes you can get little burrs or something. Like, you see, the cork will have like holes and pitting. There's not much you can do when it comes to that. You know, it's luck of the draw. It may look okay. It looks bad in the shadow, but it's a tenon cork. Like I said, not my best, but not my worst. But yeah, you can get big hole pits like that, and if you're really unlucky, it'll be on the corners or the outside of the cork, and gone in seconds. So, like I said, I got pretty lucky. Not a lot of rickety action, so that's honestly pretty good. If I had some paraffin wax, there would be almost none. There's a little bit, but if I had some paraffin wax, let's see. I like to go like this a little bit because it just smoothens everything together. And yeah, that is a Series 10 Selmer put back together by the grace of God. I keep saying grace of God, I'm sorry, but it's just something I say. So I will quickly, let's see, what should I do first? Should I clean or do a, I don't really like what that looks like. I'll sand that a little. While I'm sanding, comment down below. Should I clean or do something else? Still yucky, but over time that'll be fine. So I can clean this up. So I'm gonna stop the video. I'm going to clean it up and you'll see what it looks like clean. And then we'll put the pads in the keys, and then we'll install them and this will play. So, okay, so let's move some of this stuff over. Let me get my water. Yummers. Okay, so I cleaned, well, I did some more stuff. We'll obviously go back for that green on the bell. Well, it looks green to you. It isn't really, but just how it looks, you can tell it needs some stuff. So I'll definitely go back. I'll hand buff this stuff, but for the sake of done being done, we'll go after it. And there's a little spots here and there that definitely could have gone after a little bit more. I grabbed some boar oil here. Careful not to get some cat hair on there. Just go in there. So when you are done cleaning a clarinet, you want to add boar oil because, gosh, believe it or not, clarinets most of the time are made of wood. If you have a plastic one, don't watch this video. No, I'm joking. More often than not, clarinets are wood. You will see plastic clarinets out and about, and there's nothing wrong with them. In certain cases, now don't crucify me, don't put me up on a cross, but in some cases, I actually prefer plastic clarinets. I think they seal better, and I think that they also just sound a little better at times. Like I said, certainly there's several moments where I've played a plastic clarinet, like a YCL 450 or something, Yamaha, and I might have liked it better than a Buffet B12 or something, you know. And those are both plastic clarinets. Regardless, this is looking very nice. So on to the next step. Let me put some oil down here. But next step, like I said, which is close to the final step. So we're getting there. We're getting there slowly but surely. Luckily, a lot of these keys did not need freshening up, we'll say. So I'm gonna grab my beads. I'll give them a little shake. And more often than not, that'll pull a lot of the tinier beads closer and a lot of the bigger beads back. For instance, that is a huge bead. Compared to that one, not all beads are created equal. So with that in mind, we can plan accordingly. We'll do, let's see, flip a coin. Heads we do the lower, tails we do the upper. I think I actually have a quarter nearby. Let me see. If I don't, oh boy, that will sting. Well, I guess that stings. I literally, I found it. Oh joy. So, I forgot what I said already. So we'll say heads, we'll say tails. Good enough, right? No. Give me another shot, please. Best 2 out of 3. Best out of 4. Okay. For all the cojones. What is going on? All right. Tails. Tails it is. I forgot which one was tails. So I'm going to say this is heads, this is tails. So we'll go for this. On the upper stack, or upper joint, sorry, you're going to have 11 pads. And that's really all you need to know. You'll have 11 pads. So I'm going to grab 11 pads. Now, I want to come out with this. The pads that I use, I've shown these are special pads, not yet on the market, and no one will know about them. No one does know about them yet. So, with that in mind, understand that these are going to be very different from your standard pad, in a sense that they are, in my opinion, they're amazing. I've used myriad of pad now, so I think I have a little bit of an understanding of good and bad pads. No shade to Valentino, but these are very nice. These are very good pads. So as I was saying, 11 pads for upper. That's 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. How about that? So, and then for the lower, just putting it out there, you get 3 of one size, 1 smaller, and then 2 a little bit bigger. Now I do have the exact measurements for these. I forgot them though. I can tell you this for sure: 16 and a half, 15, 12, and then these are 9.5s. So I lied, I knew them. Either way, so with these, very cool. So what we're gonna do with these, what I like to do, this is just a me thing, these are peel and stick. Now, peel and stick pads do exist, but this isn't temporary. These aren't temporary peel and sticks. And to go further onto that, these aren't temporary fix pads. These are pads designed for longevity and for different climates. So I've mentioned before that bladder pads are made with fish skin or sheep intestine or anything like that, mostly. So what that does, since it's organic material, it'll swell, or well, pads being pads, they will swell. I know a lot of you may already know about that, and you can't get them wet, you can't get them hot. There's a million things that you can't do. They're susceptible to pad bugs. Everyone knows what pad bugs are. If you don't, look up pad bugs. These don't have any fallback, and they're just the right density. If you've seen Valentino greenbacks, they're white and they're layered, and lucky me. You know, yellow is actually my least favorite color, but we'll go into a little bit. So Valentino, they have a top layer. It's very thin. This isn't to scale. Very thin layer. Then they have another layer, this layer here, and then, well, that's really not a good drawing, but we'll go with it for the sake of going with it. So you have that thin layer, a big layer, and then cardboard. And like I said, it's not to scale. In fact, I'll do one to scale. It would look more something like this, where you have the upmost layer of foam, a smaller layer of foam, and then cardboard underneath. I don't know why I'm drawing arrows, just to show that it's different. And in a bladder pad, I'll just draw it like this. They don't look like that, but you'll get the idea. Cardboard backing, then you have woven felt or pressed felt, and then you have the bladder that goes around everything. So pretend that's also bladder. And so heat gets trapped inside that bladder and it swells it and everything moves out of it. And keep in mind, these are also white. Well, these two are going to be white traditionally. And what it basically boils down to is you will replace these. These pads will get replaced. But these, I've never had to replace these. These are around. I wouldn't say ask your friends per se, but if you've seen them, you know how well they play, how well they are. And basically all that to say is you probably won't have these in your arsenal, and that's okay. Maybe one day you will. But till that day, just watch. So as I'm adding the glue bead, even one glue bead might just be too much. But as I'm adding it, I'm tapping down a little, because what that glue bead is going to want to do is splooge. It'll want to splooge everywhere. Not an innuendo, once again. But you'll find more often than not it wants to expand because it's glue. And so it'll get compressed into the pad cup. Most of the time, pad cups, luckily, in this, for instance, this is rounded at the bottom, so it has a cup underneath. And you know what? Refer back to this. Okay, we'll go back to this little diagram and get the pencil. So pad cups are usually, we're just gonna use it like a grid, like that. And let's say there's an arm there. So that's how pad cups usually are. And you have all of this space here to fill up with glue, and then you still have to fit the pad in there, right? Some keys will not have that, and they will just be flat. Now they won't look like that exactly. They'll probably look like something like that. You'll be able to spot them out. They're very easy to spot out. But basically, instead of having all of this space for glue to go, it'll just be flat. So keep that in mind depending on what kind of clarinet you have. So these ones have a divot. So they're able to have a little bit more of glue. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it, but trust when I say that it does. A lot of older clarinets have that, voice crack, have that kind of lack of space. Regardless, you see this, actually, I'm not going to do it on this. On this, we're just going to do it good old-fashioned way. We're going to cut it in half, just because that looks like a lot of glue. And keep in mind, these quote-unquote, these pads that I have, they have some glue on them. So I find it to be really advantageous to have that glue backing, because you're able to stick the pad to the glue. Once it's in the pad cup, you can stick pad to glue and then push it down. So on the G sharp keys, we'll go on to this. G sharp keys, I always use a wrench or pliers of any type. I call these wrench, these are pliers. I'll use pliers and I'll hold them. I'll hold them like this, or more often than not, like this. But I always use something to hold them, because this cork will get burnt if you're not able to control where the heat goes on that. So it'll bounce right back up. The heat will just go from this side to this side. So you just have to be cautious and wary of that. And it's not hard to, and we'll leave that one. We'll go for another one. Okay. And when I see smoke, I know that it's already hit the right temperature, the right melting point that I want it to be at. You know what? Say for instance, the pad doesn't exactly fit right. Well, so in this instance, like I said, these don't fit exactly right. Well, I realized I had these to the side. This is what the pads come in. You can see they have the adhesive on the back. So these are all the larger sizes, as you can tell. So in fact, we're just gonna toss all these back. What's done is done for those two. Unfortunately, I realized as I was thinking about it, because there's several different sizes, we're just gonna toss those back. And we'll toss these back too, because they're different in their own ways, especially because it's a Selmer. And I was in the mindset of buffet. And see, it's just a simple mistake. It's not the end of the world. You know, it's not nothing. You know, it's fine. I ain't got no qualms. I ain't got no qualms about undoing the work that I just did. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Because one thing I should mention, we're just going to stick it back on. Wow, how about that? So, as I was saying, one thing that I should mention is that when you are fitting keys for pads, and these would have worked, but I would like a more snug fit. You want snug fits for your keys, because there's less room for things to go wrong, I could say. So what we have here, this is C block. We'll call that C block, B block. What I was using is A block. So what we're gonna use is B and then also C. C we'll use for the lower stack, B we'll use for the upper. If all goes well, of course. So we'll see. And well, that's a much more snug fit. There's barely any ricket around, and we'll see. You can just bend it a little, and you can see all the pads that come in this. And so it's very nice. And so just to let y'all know, this pad, this block is meant for a clarinet. So you have all 11 pads. All 11 pads for the keys on an upper. You have the 3 for the lower, 3 big, 1 kind of big. You have your 2 for the for 2 of the keys down there, and then you have 2 little extras. You could use them if you manage to mess one up.